Oh, baby. I just got back from seeing Christopher Nolan's new movie, Oppenheimer, and I think it's safe to say this film is his magnum opus. Actually, I don't even know if something can be considered a magnum opus if the person is still alive and still making new movies, but it's the culmination of his life's work. If you've been living under a rock and have not heard about this movie or don't know what it's about, it's a character study about J. Robert Oppenheimer, an American theoretical physicist who's known for being the creator of the atomic bomb. I, along with all of my coworkers, were worried that this was a movie that was just going to make you feel so bad, that it was going to be so depressing, because when you think about an atomic bomb, you don't get good vibes, you know? Like, I just thought it would be pure depression the whole time. I knew it would be a masterpiece, but also just make me feel really bad, kind of like the Chernobyl miniseries. And I was honestly just really ignorant. I thought that this character was kind of a villainous guy. I thought that him creating the atom bomb was like a terrible thing that never should have happened. And I thought like, oh, the world would be better if this never existed, which that might still be true. But you realize that this isn't some evil villain. This is like a very complicated, deep human being who, you know, was in a very complicated situation, but you realize when you watch the movie, this wasn't like something they just did for fun all willy-nilly. Like, this was something that was kind of inevitable. At least at the time, the American government believed this had to be done. Like, this atomic bomb had to be built, and you get to see J. Robert Oppenheimer grapple with the moral dilemmas that come up from creating something like this. He didn't love doing it. It wasn't like this maniacal guy who, you know, was like super eager to build a bomb. It's a theoretical physicist who is one of the smartest human beings on the planet, and that's what he had to do. It truly is a crowning achievement in the world of filmmaking. I didn't even get to see this in IMAX, sadly, because I'm working on a video ranking and comparing every movie theater subscription service, and I'm using one movie theater subscription service that kind of sucks ass right now, and you can't go to premium screenings, so I didn't get to see it on the IMAX screen, which sucks. But even still, the visuals were absolutely insane. The sound could have been better. Don't get me wrong, the score and soundtrack were absolutely banging, but I was really surprised to see a lot of reviews saying like, oh, he finally fixed his audio issues. And if you're not familiar, for Christopher Nolan's last few movies, there's been a lot of dialogue in the movies that you just can't hear very well, if at all. And this movie is no different. I saw a review from Amanda the Jedi, who I really love. She makes great videos. I actually met her at a gaming event years ago, and she was so nice. So super cool channel. But she left a review saying somebody finally fixed his audio issues. And I just don't resonate with that at all, because there was a solid 25% of this movie where I could not understand anything the characters were saying. There was at least 7 or 8 different times when I thought to myself, wow, I have no idea what they just said. I hope that wasn't crucial to the story. That's in part because the characters speak at 1,000,000 miles an hour, because there is so much dialogue in this movie that you're naturally not going to be able to follow all of it. As soon as the credits rolled, I texted my friend and I said, holy dialogue. The script for this movie must have been so long, because it's 3 hours of almost nonstop dialogue, which for me was fine because the editing in this film is amazing. I have to praise the editing. It's so fast and choppy. Like, for the first few minutes, I was a little thrown off by the editing because it goes person talking, reaction shot, person talking, other reaction shot. And it just does that the whole movie, which at the beginning was a little disorienting for me. But for a 3-hour runtime, it worked really well and made the movie feel like 2 hours long, in my opinion. At one point, both the person sitting to the left and the right of me had fallen asleep, which is not a great feeling when you're watching a movie that you really are invested in and really enjoy, because it makes you feel like, oh, they clearly aren't liking this as much as I am. But just to praise the sound design real quick, apart from the dialogue, the sound design itself was amazing. And there was one moment when it was really quiet for a long period of time. And if you've seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It gets really quiet. And then there is something so fucking loud that it woke both people up at the same time. So I was sitting there and there's a loud noise and literally both people go, And then from then on, they were watching the rest of the movie. So that was pretty cool to see. Like, they went from being asleep and uninterested to fully invested. If you love character studies and difficult, intense dramas that are very dialogue heavy, you'll have a good time with this. But I do worry that the average moviegoer just won't love this experience because it's so dense. I can't even begin to imagine how much research went into writing this script, because it felt like you get an entire semester's history course of information on J. Robert Oppenheimer. The cinematography from Hoyt van Hoytema was unbelievable, as expected. He's probably the best. Well, I'm not going to say what I was about to say because I don't want Roger Deakins fans to come try to end my life. But the film is a technical achievement. It's incredibly dense. And if you don't pay attention for like 7 seconds, you're already missing a lot of nuance. And this is the type of movie where you'll probably have to watch it 3 times to even really have a grasp on all the nuances that are going on between characters. I'm not going to sit here and act like I totally followed every detail. There were some moments where there's sort of a twist. Well, it's not really a twist, but something is revealed about a character or their intentions, and you're like, oh shit. But then you also like don't really know what that means in the grand scheme of things. Like, if you hadn't already known about the history of the Manhattan Project and what happened to J. Robert Oppenheimer, like, this was a full-blown history lesson for me. I absolutely loved every sequence where you get to see what's going on inside J. Robert Oppenheimer's mind. Obviously, I'm trying to avoid spoilers here, but there are times when we get to see what he's experiencing in his mind and kind of as he's trying to process what's happening in his life and in the world. And it is horrifying. There was many times throughout the film where I was like, what they're building right now is horrible for humanity and is a terrible thing that I wish never existed. And then there were other moments where I'm like, yeah, man, I get it. Like, this had to be done. It really had to be done. Like, not the way that the bomb was implemented, but the building of an atomic bomb is something that was inevitable. And I think if it wasn't done by him then, it was going to be done by somebody else somewhere else. And that's kind of what they're getting at, is like, it's such a terrible thing that exists, and yet it had to exist almost. It's grappling with this idea that we as humans have evolved to the point where we've been able to harness energy to literally destroy us, destroy the world. We create this new technology not really knowing how it's going to be implemented or what it's going to do in the future. And that's not something that's taken lightly by the story. It's really explored in a lot of depth. And I think Cillian Murphy's performance is unbelievable. I hope he gets his long overdue Oscar nomination. I hope he wins. I think he deserves it. And I know we still have quite a few months before the end of the year, but holy shit. I did not expect that I would leave this movie feeling somewhat sympathetic towards him. I don't know if that's the right word choice in that situation, but I think there will be a lot of people like myself who go into this movie not knowing much about world history, who view the atomic bomb and the person who made it as like objectively terrible things that should never have existed. And I think a lot of people like myself will come out of this movie with a different perspective and realize like, oh my God, this is much more complicated and nuanced than I ever anticipated. And I think that's amazing. I think that's what cinema is all about. By no means do I think the use and implementation of the atomic bomb was a good thing, but I think that this film opens your eyes to layers of nuance and complexity that make you go like, wow, it's not that simple. I had no idea that one of the guys in the movie was Benny Safdie. I didn't even know what he looked like until after the movie. And I was like, holy shit, that's one of the Safdie brothers. And how could I forget Robert Downey Jr.? He was incredible. I think he deserves a nomination for Best Supporting Actor. Whoever played Albert Einstein, I was convinced, will I be watching this movie again? Probably not for a long time. It's not the sort of movie that I personally desire to watch again. Like, I definitely would get a lot more out of it. Like I said, there is so much happening for the entire runtime, and they jump from different time periods and different interrogations and black and white to color and then back to black and white. Like it's overwhelming, but in a great way. I just personally don't see myself sitting down for 3 hours and 1 minute again to watch this, but that's just me. I am really, really tired of these 3-hour movies. I think there should be a new bill passed that bans movies over 2 hours and 44 minutes. If there was a way to make every movie 100 minutes or less, I would be so down for that. But I'm joking. Kind of, like a movie is as long as it needs to be to tell that story. And in the case of Oppenheimer, it had to be 3 hours. It moves at a very great pace. Like it doesn't feel 3 hours, but even still, I don't know what to say. It's too long for me. Those are my thoughts on Oppenheimer. It was amazing. I loved it. I highly recommend going and watching it and then watch Barbie after it to kind of cleanse the palate a little bit and leave the theater feeling goofy, silly. And before I wrap this up, can we just take a moment to appreciate how awesome the movie theater experience has been this opening weekend? I went to the theater last night and saw literally hundreds of people in the lobby, all in pink. And then this morning, I was trying to buy tickets for Barbie later tonight. And I shit you not, literally every movie theater in the greater Seattle area was sold out for every single showtime. I could not find a single seat. Well, I could find like one seat in the far right corner in the front row, but nobody fucking wants that. But that's incredible. I wasn't even a fan of Marvel back during the Avengers Infinity War and Endgame era, but from what I heard, that's kind of what the vibe was like back then. Like it was sold out every night. People were losing their minds. And that's kind of what it felt like last night at the theater. And I absolutely love that. People are getting excited. They're dressing up with their friends, doing photo shoots outside the theater. And then in the theater, the vibes are high. People are cheering. The energy is there. Like that is what movie theaters are all about. Now, what we really need is to take that same energy into all of these other amazing films that come out throughout the year that don't have hundreds of millions of dollars in marketing pumped into them. Like we need to bring that same energy into Talk to Me, which comes out next week, because I've heard that's one of the best, if not the best horror film of the year. And I don't know, I just wanted to take a moment to say, go us, movie fans, because this shit is cool. It's cool to go to a movie theater and not feel like it's dead or at least dying. I know I said a while ago I probably wasn't going to do just like regular movie reviews anymore. A lot of the content I want to make now is a lot more in-depth and kind of analysis and video essays and deep dives and stuff, but I just had to talk about Oppenheimer. Everybody's talking about it this weekend and I wanted to join in. So there you have it. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to drop a like on this video. I would really appreciate it. It helps this video get out there and it helps my channel grow. I'm making a lot of cool videos that I think are the best stuff I've ever made and they don't get like any views. So check out some of my previous videos. I think they're really fun and cool. But yeah, that's it. Subscribe if you're new and I'll see you guys next time.